Okay, so my name is Yejide Kilanko, and so I'll just do a bit of intro about myself. So as I said earlier, I moved to Canada 2004. Prior to that, I was born in Nigeria, which is in West Africa, and I moved to United States in 2000. My husband was working in the States, so after we got married, I joined him in the States. So I live in Maryland, live in Pennsylvania, and then eventually moved to Canada. So my day job, which is, we're talking about markets today and money, it's I'm a social worker. So I'm not a full-time writer. That's the dream, but right now I cannot leave off what I make off my books, and I have bills. So I'm a social worker. So I've been working in children's mental health, child protection, and currently I'm supervising a multidisciplinary team where we're doing early intervention. So that's my day job, but I've been writing since I was 12. I started writing poetry because I went to boarding school. So I was quite lonely and sad. And so I started writing poetry just to process all my thoughts. And eventually I wrote my first novel actually was happened as a result of a poem I wrote. So the poem was called Silence Speaks. And so I shared it on Facebook. And the poem was about a disclosure. So someone who had been sexually abused, a child, had made a disclosure. And that was the poem. And that poem grew into my first novel. Because I got people making disclosures to me saying, oh, this happened to me. And so that was how my journey to publishing started. So from that poem, I wrote a novel because I was like, okay, do I? And then by 6 months, and then eventually that novel, I was able to get an agent from here, all here from Chatham. Got an agent. My agent sold the book. And so this is 8 books later. So I'm a hybrid author, which means I publish traditionally, and I also self-publish. So I'm an indie writer. So I have a mix of, and I write under 2 different names. I have mainstream fiction under Yejide Kilanko. Yes, Silence Speaks. Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to like multitask. So that's Angela. Yes, thanks. I like them too. So so I write mainstream fiction, poetry under Yejide Kilanko, and I also write Christian inspirational fiction under Vivian K. So Vivian is my first name actually, and I was going to think of like a really fancy pseudonym for myself. Yes, that's the right spelling. Yes. See, I couldn't even come up with like the K. I was like, for my last name. I wanted to give myself a totally different name, but I was afraid that if I did that, if I'll go for an event and somebody will call me, I wouldn't respond because I wouldn't know they were talking to me. So I had to keep up with like Vivian and K. That was close enough. And yeah, and I write children's fiction. I write poems, I write novels, I write flash fiction. I love writing flash fiction because it's something I can start and I can finish. So I can write fiction as short as 20 words, especially so that's how I kind of jumpstart my creative process. My days are quite long. Like I mentioned, I work full time. I have 3 teens at home, or 1 is in school right now, but 2 are still home. So I have a very busy life. So I say all this, and so today I'm talking about marketing. So I just want to give you a bit of my background because I wanted to make it clear that my first novel, Daughters Walk This Path, was a best-selling novel, and that was published by Penguin Canada, and that was mainly due to it was a Costco Books buyer's pick. So Costco really pushed it. And so that really helped with that. And so I haven't had, in terms of commercial success, I haven't had that level of success since then. But I continue to, write, continue to share my work. And so today I'm going to be talking about some of the marketing strategies I've tried. And I love interaction. So if during our conversation, because that's how I'm looking at that, we're having a conversation. During our conversation, if you have any questions for me, and if any comments, anything, please feel free to raise up your hand and then we can talk about it. We don't have to keep all the questions till the end. Because I find sometimes that when people ask, somebody else is probably thinking the same thing too. And it's more helpful if we kind of have time to kind of talk through things. So I have 2 slides prepared and then we'll just take it and say, so does anyone have any questions right now? I want to say I talk fast and I know I have an accent, so sometimes people don't even understand what I'm saying. And you can imagine if you're a therapist, because that was my job up to September. Okay, I have one question. I think it's Angela, yeah.
Well, just a quick question. You mentioned the Costco pick. Is that
Yes.
something an author has any control over, or is that totally off in the netherworld somewhere?
Yeah, the only thing because it was, so Daughters was published by Penguin. And so one thing that Penguin did then, I remember they have almost like a book buyer conference thing they host in Toronto. So they actually had me attend it. So they had me attend the book buyers conference, and that way, and then my editor presented the book, and then the book buyers were able to ask me questions. Oh. So I think that personal kind of touch also helped. But really, I don't think, because I was thinking about that now that I don't have that kind of, I was like, okay, so I was trying to find out who is the book buyer for Costco, the current one. I've been trying to find out, I haven't found that information out. Because I thought about it. Yeah, I thought about it. I'm like, oh, right. So like the book buyers for even like the Chapters Indigo, or so those are people that if you do know somebody who it's a small, yeah, 6 degrees of separation, who knows, right? They have a huge influence on which books are picked.
Yeah, I live in the States, and authors have their books chosen by Walmart or Target even.
Yes.
And that's enough to sell lots and lots of books. But I don't know how they get chosen in the first place. So.
Yes. So that was what I think what led to that pick, because I went to that conference. My editor said, are you willing to come? I'm like, sure. Right. So I went down, and then, I got to meet the buyers. Right.
And you're so cute.
Oh, thank you. Right. So I got to meet the buyers, and that, I think that was helpful. So yes. So I have thought about it, like, okay, who are the buyers? I've tried to Google, but you could imagine that they get lots and lots of emails.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So okay. So I don't know if Marian, you want to share the first slide, and we can get started. Okay, so this is marketing plans 1. Okay, so so I actually did this a while, so you can see 2018. This was part of 2018. I went to Nigeria to give like a part, it was like for indie writers, and so I had the slides made then. So it talks about self-promotion, and it's okay, no, we're going to go back, and I'll talk through the first slide. Okay, so it talks about self-promotion is something that many writers are uncomfortable doing. But I always feel that, if you believe in your work and believe in what you do, that you should want to promote it, right? And so one of the things I always tell people is what is helpful, I think it's also wearing my therapist hat, is defining for yourself what success is, right? Because it's going to look different for different people. Some people like, okay, you know what, if I'm publishing this book, if just my family members buy it, I'm happy. For some people, they want more. And some people if my book is not on, on a global mail list or something, right, that means I'm not successful. So I think it's really important for you to determine for yourself what success looks like, and then what you're willing to give up for it. And because everything has a cost, that if you're going to give up, if you're going to spend more time doing something, that means you're going to spend time doing something, you're taking from time, you're doing something else, right? So you have to determine for yourself, what is it that you want. So I would say, okay, have a clear, measurable marketing plan even before you launch your book. So while you're writing the book, I know it's like, while you're writing the book, I don't believe in, I write about things that I'm interested in. I'm my first audience, honestly. I write things up, so I don't write with an angle. I'm not writing with, oh, okay, let me write this topic, so that, because that's what is hot in the market. I write because I'm interested in that topic, and because it's the story I want to tell. But as you're writing it, then you're going to start thinking, who might be interested in this book when I'm ready? And, and if these are the people that I think may be interested, where are they? Right? So having a sense in your head, even before the book is launched, who's your possible audience? who are the people who can help you promote the book? So who are possible stakeholders? Who are, so what's your marketing budget? That's also very important. Most of us don't have, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a social worker. I'm a full-time social worker. Social workers are not known exactly for how much money we make. That's not why people go into social work. So I work with a limited budget. And so I have to figure out, okay, what is it? What's my marketing budget? What am I, what am I able to, like, so sometimes like maybe if I want to do a blog tour, if I know somebody who's runs that business, how much am I willing to pay them to help me run a blog tour? If I'm going to be doing graphics, how much am I willing to spend on that? I've learned to do a lot of DIY on my own. I'm a Canva girl. I love Canva. Canva is excellent for making graphics. I use Canva a lot to make graphics. So if you're thinking of making a book video, there are all kinds of software, all kinds of free things online that you can look for, right? I know not everyone has that comfortability in terms of making things, but they don't have to be. I'm a believer in practice makes progress. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing out there, but it should, even if it doesn't look like, it has to be just simple. So Canva is an excellent website. So thinking pre and post launch marketing goals. So I'm a list maker. So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. So, okay, so I have 6 months to my book launch. What are the things I need to achieve before 6 months? Who do I need to talk to, right? In terms of who can help me. So wherever I am, so you're looking at, do I have a local bookstore that I need to connect with? Do I have, in terms of like local newspaper? Because local newspapers are excellent, right? They're excellent champions for you because one, it's like, we're all doing shop local, promoting local content. Your library is your friend, your public library. Those librarians, they're geniuses. They know books and they know the people who are like hardcore library users, they know them. They can recommend you. Word of mouth still sells books. People might think, it's all social media, but if you find one person who really likes a book, they would push it. They would tell their friends about it. They would gift the books. They will invite you to their book club, right? They would be a champion for your book and they don't pay. You're not even paying them for it, but because they're committed to the book, they would take it on as their own. So knowing what your marketing budget is, it doesn't have to be a whole lot. There's a lot you can do on $500. I know it might sound like it's not. I'm a big believer in using Canva. Another website that I've used is Fiverr. So Fiverr.com. My last, the Daughters Who Walk This Path that was published by Penguin, I got my rights back. So after 7 years, so I republished another. I did an edition last year. My cover I made through someone on Fiverr. I paid $20 for it. That cover is beautiful, right? So if you see the cover, you probably think, oh, I spent like a lot of money. It was $20 I paid someone on Fiverr to make it for me. So I use Fiverr. Fiverr, you can find, people can make graphics, book covers, even like book trailers, like the videos. So you just have to make sure you read the reviews and check their ratings and make sure, yeah. So, but I've had much success on Fiverr, actually with the same artist, graphic designer, she's made several covers for me now. So I've had much success with her. I've used is it Upworks? I've used that for to help me for my picture book. So to help me not just design the cover and do like the layouts, right? So I've used someone on Upwork as well. So what can you do on yourself, by yourself, and what can you outsource? So that's the key. Okay, what the things that you can do by yourself, you do, and the things that you can outsource, you look for the most efficient way of getting that done. And so you're looking for free or minimal cost marketing opportunities. And one of the things I found that's been helpful with that is cross promotion. I have over the years. Yeah, if you can. So this is from Alicia. If you can make if you can do your cover, that's fine. right? I have made some covers. I've made some covers by myself, and I made them on Canva. So another website that I use to get stock images, and they're free. It's Pexels. So Pexels. You can get free. So and it's free, copyright free images that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're very welcome. So I use that, and then if you have friends who can take a look at, and that's one thing. Another way of getting people interested in your book, right? So before the book is published, you're sharing things like that on your social media pages. Like, hey, I'm thinking of the concept for my novel. Here I have ABC. What do you guys think? Or what do you think? I need to stop saying guys. I'm trying to like wean myself out of that, using that term. What do you think, right? And that's another way of engaging your readers as part. Then they feel like they own a part of it, right? So if you're sharing 3 images and saying, I'm thinking of ABC, get people to vote. Get people excited about the book before the book is actually out, right? And so I like that. Even my writer friends, when they share things like that, I go and look, I'm like, okay, no, let's pick A or B or C, or even sometimes we'll do that with titles, right? I'm very particular about my titles because I feel like they're my children. And so I want to name my children, right? But with the images, I'm kind of like, okay, I can be flexible with that. But the titles I'm very particular about. But people do that. It's thinking, how can you engage your writers, right, in the process, even before the book is out, so that when the book is, you put that pre-order link out, they're pre-ordering your book. And that's another thing that would be really helpful, to have a pre-order link out for your book, especially for the digital version. Because most people will be like, okay, you know what, it's easier to pre-order, like if you make it, and that also ties into pricing, right? So you're looking, you don't want to price yourself out of the market. So I always look and see, okay, what are other people charging, what's charging for their books? I want to put myself in the kind of the sweet middle. I don't want to outprice myself. And I know that when I'm looking at the prices, you're looking at, okay, how much have I invested in this book in terms of because I would say my main cost would be my editing, because I want to provide the best book I can. So I can do some level of editing on my own, but I know that I need to hire an editor because I will miss some things. So that's what I'll say I spend most of my money on. It's editing the work, because you want to make sure you bring out the best possible book for people to buy. So if you're going to be, economical about anything, don't let it be your editing. You want to make sure you have good work out there. And so you're looking for creative partnerships. So I do a lot of cross promotion with my writers, mostly my Nigerian writers who are in the diaspora, who are, like in England or in the US or here. And so we kind of cross promote for each other. So if someone has a book coming out, I would share the book, and sometimes to support them, I give away copies of their books too. Like I would give away copies of their books. There was a time we had a really successful, was a Christmas, maybe we called it like the Niger is a slang for Nigerian sisters, and there were like 7 of us, and we had people send us Christmas pictures, and then we put together a package of all the 7 books, and then we did a raffle, and then we mailed that parcel to one person. And so, yeah, so I've had a success with that. And even with one of the other things I've had great success with is even virtual book launches. Especially now that with COVID, things have not been, we're not doing a lot of things in person anymore. I've had a successful virtual book launch. I had a couple of my writer friends, they made videos for me, holding the book and saying, hey, happy book launch to la la la, we really enjoyed this. And then I shared the videos, so I created a Facebook page. I had a playlist of music for the day. I had book giveaways during the day. So all the writers who made videos for me, I gave away copies of their books. So that was my way of saying thank you to them. And that was another way of also introducing those writers to their work too, right? So I did that. So virtual book launches, it can be quite successful. So even if you're not able, and I didn't have to pay for a venue, I was in the comfort of my home, right? And so the main cost was that I had to buy I bought my friend's books and I mailed it out, but I didn't have to feed people. I put pictures of like virtual jollof rice. So like I'm okay, there was the booklet actually had people, because I picked I picked winners based on the outfit. So I chose a color for the event. It was like, I don't know, I can't remember, something orange or whatever. And then people were meant to dress at home in that color. And some people actually took pictures of themselves and sent to me, that I posted on the event page dressed in that color. And then people actually made meals and took a picture of their meal. I didn't even have to buy the food. They bought the food and they sent me pictures that I put up. And then we chose the best outfit, we chose the best meal, and then I sent them copies of the novel. So you can make it as much fun as you can. I use Canva for making, different graphics. So up to the day I kept, and then I had people share for me. I'm like, fine, if you can't buy the book, can you share the link? Most people will be, okay, fine, I'll share the link. Right? So even if your friends are like, oh, they don't want to buy. I've found that people who really buy your books are not your family or your friends. Not because they don't love you, but that's just the way it is, right? So most times it's outsiders who buy your books more than the people who are close to you. And so, but sometimes you can say, okay, you can guilt them into sharing a link for you. So fine, you don't have to buy them, just share the link, okay? And then maybe somebody on your page. Sounds like a fun. Yes, you know what? Yes. So yeah, if you after this, if you have because I'm very active on social media. If you need like consulting or anything, I'll be more than happy to help out. I love things like that. I like parties that you don't have to actually physically go to the party. You can be your house. Yeah, I like that. Because even though I think I always say I'm an extrovert, by the time I'm done from work, I don't want to talk. I just want to sit in a corner and just be by myself. So I like virtual parties because I don't really have to be in the party with humans. I can be at home. so I like those kind of parties. So yeah, so you're thinking, so think one, before you launch the book, come up with a plan, come up with a marketing budget, think about the things. So a list is your friend. A list is your friend because it really helps to keep you organized, because there's so much going on that there's so many things pulling you in different directions. So a list is your friend. Make a list of everything that you think that you're going to need. Think of, okay, what is it that I can do? What is it that I need help with? And Marian and I met on Facebook on our Canada Rights group. That has been such an excellent support group. So don't do this in isolation. Reach out, right? Reach out to other people and ask. I'm a big believer in ask and you may sometimes receive. But if you don't ask at all, you're never going to receive, right? So I'm a big, like no is not a, because I understand that people are in different places. So if we're getting no, they have a right to say no. You don't know what's going on in their lives, right? And so, yeah, so, but if you don't ask, you'll be surprised sometimes that, when you ask that you may get some help. And sometimes it may just be, oh, this idea or, so yeah, so please try as much as possible to find your village or just find your tribe, find your people who you can, consult with. And Canada Rights has actually been a great place. So, oh, okay, no problem. I know it's been recorded. So you'll be able to watch afterwards. I think. So let me not put Marian on the spot. But I know it's been recorded, so you may be able to watch afterwards. So I'm just trying to look through the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. I think I don't, it's been popping up on my screen. Okay, so we talked about cross promotion and then make a media kit. So one of the things that I think it's important, I know that right now with also all of us being on social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that, but I really think it's important that you have your own home, and your own home in terms of a website. And I know those can be quite pricey, but you can have a WordPress. You can have a WordPress website, so you don't need anything complicated to start with. But I think it's important you have your own home, because if you have your own home, you can put that media kit there. So it would have some like a press release, something like that. So if somebody is trying to write a review of your book, they don't have to email you. They can just go on your website and just download that. And it's good for, reviewers, it's good for press people. So it's something to think about. Because and in terms of my website, so I have two. I told you earlier that I off-peak cost about 20. I wouldn't heard about them. Yeah. So because I used Manage WordPress through GoDaddy for my first, and then I used just regular WordPress for my VVNK. I think I pay so that I could get vvnk.com from WordPress. I think I pay like 20 something a year. So just to give it that, the name. But I update my websites myself. I like things like that. So I think the one of the things that when we think about marketing when it comes to writing is you have to kind of put on your business hat. There's the creative heart, right? You're creating your work, but if you want to be successful at this, you have to push yourself a little out of your comfort zone and figure out, okay, what is it that this work, and that's why I said it's important for you to know, okay, what does success mean to me? If for you, it's the main thing is writing the book and, getting out there, that's fine. If the main thing is, writing the book and making back, at least at the minimum, the money that you invested into doing the book, that's fine. If for you, you're like, okay, I really want to make, because I want to go to Jamaica on a trip, and I really need to fund myself, hey, we all have different goals, right? So I think it's good to know, what your goals are. And I think that would shape your motivation and help you. And, I always talk about motivation is not every day. You're not going to be able to motivate yourself every day. So that's where the discipline part comes in. And you're like, okay, I've made this choice. This is what I've made, then I have to stick with it. You're going to have to push through. You're going to have to push through those days that you're like, okay, why am I even doing this? Because we all have those days where you're like, okay, I've spent this amount of money and I haven't got my money back. And so it's figuring out, okay, what else do I need to do? Do I need to take a step back, look at my plans? What am I missing? Who do I need to talk to? And just bounce ideas off other people. And sometimes it might just be a little tweak. I have a YouTube channel, but I don't use it often. I'll be honest. I don't use it often, but social media has also been a great way for me to market. And so in terms of, I'm quite active on Facebook, and I love Instagram because I love images, right? And the truth is, because we're living through a pandemic, and people, we have to be gentle with ourselves. And there's so much coming at us that for a lot of people, they may not have the emotional, just mental strength to read like long text, but they can look at images, right? And so that's why, Instagram, I think, you're sharing pictures of your book, and then it's also important to share pictures of other people's work, not just your book, right? Because people want to have all the things that you're involved in life. Because now I've read, it's not just, people don't want to just know you as the writer, they're interested in you as the person. So what else do you like to do, right? Do you go for walks? Are you an avid, skier, curler? Like what are things that you do? I'm not saying, of course you have to protect yourself and you have to protect your privacy. So not sharing everything that you do with the world, but in terms of what are things that you're comfortable sharing with people. And, so just not being able to, it's not like all you're doing is buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It's more like, hey, this is me. These are things I'm interested in. Buy my book. This is me. And to find things that, people, might find interesting. And if there's a particular theme in your book, depending on if your book is set in a particular, if it's set in a real town, share things about that town. Okay, Angela. I think you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
The trouble was I couldn't find the button to click. No, I wondered what you thought. I have a friend who is always promoting her independent books on Facebook and various social media, like buy this, and she'll put the pictures of the covers. She either does that or she puts a somewhat political post. Now, I happen to agree with her opinions on a lot of things, but I know a lot of people here don't. And what's your opinion about sharing a little more sensitive topics if you're expecting people to buy your books?
Well, I do share sensitive things. So maybe for me, I'm like, this is me as a whole person. That's how I look at it, right? So I'm not going to shrink myself or be less than who I because I want you to spend your money to buy my books, right? So I share things that like I share information. I don't deliberately go out like courting like chaos or conflict or whatever, right? But I would not be silent about things that matter to my life or matter to me just because I think it's going to impact my, you're buying my book.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's how I look at it, right? But I always frame my post, and the kindness is very important to me. Kind. So I frame I don't want anyone to be left. And if I'm sharing something that's heavy, sometimes I put like a trigger warning or something so that you're aware of this is heavy, because I don't want people left, with those heavy feelings and not knowing what to do with it, right? And especially it's a virtual world. Right? If it was in person, you and I are having a conversation, we can talk about it and resolve anything. But the person's behind the screen and you don't know what their situation is, where they are. So I always frame that in my head, like, okay, I wouldn't shrink myself or I wouldn't hide who I am because I want you to buy my book. And, but I would, yeah. So that's how I phrase it.
Great.
I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not even sure. I'm trying to be conscious of time. Okay, so so we can move on to the next slide. Okay. Okay, so so we talked about press organizations, and so like I mentioned earlier about your local newspapers being your friend, because they're looking for content. You're your hometown person, and sometimes you may like you may not even be living in, maybe I'm living in Chatham now, so I contact my Chatham newspaper, but I've lived in London too, so I have a connection there. I can contact them and say, oh, I used to live here, or where I was, like, to different places. So just think, or even your alumni organizations, if you're whatever colleges you attended, universities, they like information like that. They can put in their news and say, oh, this person graduate of this year has a book out. And those alumni newsletters go to thousands of people. Right? So think about, so you're not just thinking about, okay, if you belong to any organizations, belong to any colleges, those are people that you can reach out to who can help, and they were not going to charge you any money for it. Right? So they're like, oh, our member, this, or whatever, wrote a book. So, right. So, because I remember, because I did my master's at University of Windsor, and when I wrote daughters, I'd reach out and they actually put it in the newsletter to say, oh, graduate of social work did this, but so those are thinking of ways that you can connect with, existing organizations that have wide reaches that can help you with promotions. And then book clubs. Book clubs are excellent ways. I actually had a book club event today for my last book, and it was so much fun. And in these times where things are virtual, I've had book club meetings in Nigeria, in Germany, in the UK, all from the comfort of my home in Chatham. And I didn't have to travel there. I'm just here, right? One of the other places where you can get, in the beginning where I used to like quote book clubs is on Goodreads. Goodreads they have a list of different book clubs there, and you can reach out to the moderators of that book club and introduce yourself. So, and then your local libraries also have book clubs. They also have book clubs, and so sometimes what local libraries would do is, depending on their funding, they will buy enough books for you to do book club packs. So they would have, like, they can buy a book to do a book club kit. They would, I think, they would do like 5 to 7 books. And then, so that way, if one book club gets the pack, then they have enough books for their members to read. So that's I found that I think at my local library, I have 3 of my books in book club And what I do, I just approach the library, introduce myself. I'm a local author. I know that you have book club kits. Are you know, can you put my name down the next time that you're buying, yeah, on the budget or whatever? And most times they've been very, very helpful, right? So that's and most times they buy directly from you, right? So they're not ordering, you're buying the books from you and you're telling them, oh, I can autograph the books, which even gives them more, right? So those book clubs are very, very good. I've done book clubs in the States. What I've done, I'll look on, if you go even on Instagram, they have book clubs, like the tags for book clubs. I Google the book clubs. I find out who might be interested in multicultural novels. I introduce myself. Sometimes I get a response, sometimes I don't. I move on. I keep a list. I ask my friends who are big readers to introduce me to their book clubs. So it's work. If you contact universities, their English departments, they have graduate students who might be interested in featuring your work as part of, some of the events that the universities run. And so that's another place as well. There's other people who buy books. Universities buy books. Students buy books, and sometimes if you have, they pick your book for a course park, and then the students have to buy the books, right? Or even the university library has to buy some of the copies so the kids, the students can borrow them from the library. So think unconventional ways of selling your books. It's not just to readers, it could be to institutions, to your libraries, because they buy more than one, right? So they buy more than one. And so there, I talked about the social media part. And so I do, I post excerpts of my work even while I'm working on it. So even when the book isn't done. So while I'm writing the book, so I'm posting, I'm like, oh, this today, I had this aha moment, or this thing really came out, and I share, I'm just sharing little snippets. And sometimes after the editing of the book, those snippets may not even be there, right? But it doesn't matter. In that moment, I'm getting people talking, right? So I'm getting people talking, like my latest book, which was published in September, that book from conception to publication was 11 years. It was a long, long time. But throughout that 11 years, I kept sharing about it. I kept talking about it. I kept sharing, and the name I think I had 3 names or 4 names for that book before I finally settled on the final name. I kept just talking about it. I kept making graphics. I kept doing on. And so by the time it came out, it was like, for some people, like, yes, our book is out. It wasn't just my book. It became our book, because over the years, I kept talking about it. And it was a way of also encouraging myself. Because this is, I think you should think about it like this is a long haul thing. This is not, if you're determined to, it is not just that you're determined, okay, I want to make this successful. You have to look at it as a long haul journey. I don't know, I wasn't able to find the origin for the book, whether it's an African, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read what Laurie said. That's right. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah. Whatever it's. And for me, that death and dying and grief, it's part of life, right? It's part of life. It's something that we can't avoid, right? And we do need to talk about it, right? We need to talk about it, and most people want people that they can talk about it, and sometimes they can't talk about with family. So I think that's a very, very valuable thing that you're doing. Yes. Yeah, so it's important that we have those conversations. So videos, like I talked about how people love, they love graphics, they love images. People also like videos, right? And now I remember they've been telling me, oh, I should do reels. I think they're called reels on Instagram. I honestly haven't done one yet, because I'm just like, okay, because it's always saying there's one more thing to do. It feels like there's one more marketing thing to do, one more. So I haven't done that, but I've done a couple of just reading. And there was one, and then one of the things that I have done that would tie to like videos, or is making playlists. I love music. Music is a huge part of my writing process. And so what I've done is make playlists for my each book that I write. and those playlists is for myself, but I realized that I could share them too, right? So even on your YouTube, if you have a YouTube channel, you can make a playlist of the songs that either influence the scene in the book, even if it's nonfiction, right? If you are writing a particular, for me, when I'm trying to evoke a certain emotion, I listen to a particular song that because it makes it real for me, right? So it could be songs that you listen to while you were writing the book, songs that have meaning to the characters in the book, right? So playlists are also very, very something that you can create. A book trailer is also one. I think there was one I made. I think it used to be called Spot Mixer, but they're no longer Spot Mixer now. I can't remember what the name of I think somebody bought them over, where you can create like really short videos. You don't have to be long videos. They will give you like just free graphics, free background. So I know that right now there are all kinds, and you can even make your videos on your phone, right on the iPhone, because I've done that before for Christmas, where I made just a short video where you can just like maybe 1 minute. So you don't have to do anything too complicated. So right, because you don't want to burn yourself out. Like I was saying earlier, that if you're looking at this a long haul, I think the opposite. If you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with people, right? So building that community is going to be really, really important as part of it. So make an engaging book trailer, update your website with relevant news and purchase links. If you can, take pre-orders. I do not take pre-orders on my website just because of all the hacking and all the issues with credit cards, and I didn't want to like get into all that. So, but you can do pre-orders on Amazon, especially for Kindle. And while I have that on my mind, one website that I have found very, very helpful is Draft to Digital. I don't know if anyone knows Draft to Digital. Yeah, so that's who distributes all my virtual, my digital copies. Yes, so they don't do Amazon. No, I don't think they do Amazon. Yeah, but they do all the other ones. They do what's up? Is it Kobo? The Apple bookstore. They do quite a bit. Scribd, yeah, they do quite a bit. So that's also been, and they pay you they pay you through PayPal. And it has been fine. I have no problems. Yeah, like when I see just $2 coming, I'm like, yes, I made a sale. Right? So they pay you on a monthly basis. So I've had, I think for let me see, because it's an American website. I'm trying to think of what you have to do in terms of taxes. I think you can't do both. I think with you have to, so the books that I use the KDP for Amazon, and then I use Draft Digital for all the other books, for all the other not books, all the other vendor sites. Because I don't think you can do both, if my brain serves me right. But all that information is on their website, and it's quite yeah. So I don't think you can do both. I think you have to use KDP for Amazon, and then use Draft Digital for all the other books. In terms of the tax things, I'm trying to remember if you need an ITN number for taxes. I don't know, Miriam, have you used Draft Digital before?
I haven't, but I've looked into it a little bit. I know that for other American websites like Etsy and stuff like that, like for Canadians, if you don't pay taxes in the US, there's a form that you have to fill out.
Yes.
But I think they tell you which one it is. And
yes.
Yeah,
because I know that, because I lived in the States for a while. I have an ITN number, so I use that for things in the States. But I know that there's so yeah, so that's the only thing I wasn't sure about. But it's quite simple. And the times I think I've had to call, I was able to get to someone quickly and get my issues resolved. So I would recommend Draft to Digital to distribute your digital copies for sure. So we talked about updating. So once you have that website or a blog, update it, and always put your purchase links on it, right? So that always just think anyway, if you're even sharing, even if sometimes I don't say, hey, here, buy the book. Even if I'm sharing information about the book, I put a purchase link, because someone might read something and like, oh, I really want to, check this book out. Make it easy for people to buy your book. Make it easy, right? A lot of people don't want to work hard. They're not going to go, okay, well, now that I like this book, now let me go find it. Make it easy for them, right? To be able to get that book. So when I talk about sharing book-related graphics, talked about a pre-launch blog tour to build up the buzz about your book. And so there are lots of book bloggers on the internet who are looking for content, right? And you don't even have to pay them, right? You just have to do the work. They want people to come to their blog. So it's a win-win, right? So they want people to read their blog and you want people to read, to know about your book. So if you reach out to them and say, okay, and sometimes depending on finding depending on what kind of blogger they are, what they're in their topic, so finding something in your book that might interest them and then tying it together. So we talked about a nonfiction book that is, we're talking about, grief and exactly, that's it, right? Your that cross promotion work, right? So reaching out, there's a lot of reaching out to people. And I know people have different, comfortability with that in terms of, putting yourself out there. So that's why I always play back to, okay, why are you doing all this, right? And what do you hope to get from it? Because you may have to push yourself just a little, right? Just a little to be able to, and then the book giveaway, Goodreads is actually good for that. Goodreads is an excellent place to do a book giveaway. I think we did a book giveaway for a good name. I think we end up having like 600 entries. And I think we only gave out like 2 books. But the thing about that is those people add your book to their list. And not all of them are going to buy it, but some will, right? So maybe they were really invested, they really wanted to win a copy of the book, but they were not able to win a copy. But now that the book is out, they might still go out and buy it. So look for book reviews, from trusted book readers. I reach out to, book readers. Even till now, I reach out to, even though my latest book is published by Gweneke Edition, so it's a traditional published book, I still do a lot of marketing on my own. And I think that's one key thing, that whether you have to understand that whether you're an indie author, you're a traditional author, you have to market your book, because we're living in a time of shrinking resources, right? And so if you're not the top of their list, right, in terms of how much they want to give their marketing dollars to, you're going to be expected to do a lot of the marketing yourself, right? Whether you're traditionally published or not. And so you have to make sure that, okay, that's why even before the book is out, you're coming up with that plan and thinking of, okay, how can I help? And so one of the things is, even when it came to, I remember with my very first book, I said one of the themes was child sexual abuse. So when I was doing the book launch, I reached out to the Sexual Assault Crisis Center in our town, and I did it as a fundraiser for them. Because they do excellent work, right? And I totally support the work that they do. And because I did that, they connected me to other people who end up giving us money to do the fundraiser, to do the book launch, right? Some, they connected me because they were so impressed, and they connected me, and we were able to get some money to buy food and stuff. So like reaching out, sometimes you'll be amazed that you reach out to somebody and they have somebody else that they can help to connect you with. Right. And so thinking about it and realizing that this is not going to be like a quick sprint, is going to be a long journey. Daughters has been out since 2012. I'm going to be having next week, I have a book club meeting for it. So if someone still reached out to me this year to say, hey, we just discovered your book, would you do a book? I'm not sure. Right. And so that's the beauty about books. One of the things I can think in terms of marketing is even looking beyond, and that's one of the things, looking beyond you're in Canada, thinking about foreign rights, right? If you're able to sell your books in other languages, that also opens up a different market to you. Right? It's not, because I met someone, was through work, and she was from China, and then we got talking, and then she found out that she had friends back home. It's like, so find opportunities that way, right? Because if you can get your book published in China, that is a huge market. That's a huge market, right? So thinking about different things that you can, like I have a friend who, as part of marketing her books, she's making dolls, she's making bags, tote bags. So like finding different ways that you can tie into your books that you can make money from the book, from content you've already made into other things. So I know someone who made mugs from a catchphrase from the book, right? So it's really putting on that marketing hat and thinking, how else can I make money? It may not be from selling the book itself. It might be selling idea, because everything in that book is copyrighted. You wrote it, right? So that's your work. That's your content, right? So thinking of different ways that you can market your book. And then I would say the key thing is keep writing more. You have to keep writing more. The more books you have, the more you can sell. Because what happens is once somebody reads one book and they're like, oh, I like it. They're like, I want to read more of their work, right? So don't lose track as you're marketing, and you keep writing. If this is what you intend to do, if you intend to write more than one book, if you want, whatever it is. And one of the things that I also find helpful is writing in different genres, right? Because I write children's books, I write adult books, I write poetry, I write flash fiction. And now my next dream is I want to actually do a poetry collection. But because I write long form, I write short stories, and I also write short stories. So I do all kinds of different things, right? And so that's another way of, when we talk about multiple streams of income, right? So thinking of how can I do what I do in multiple ways, and still I'm a writer, right? Whatever it comes down to is I'm creating stuff, I'm producing content. And so but I would say at the end of it all, have fun with it. If it all becomes just work and just this, like, just like, oh, like it's just hard, you're not going to, you have to have fun with it. On the days that it's hard, leave it alone. Go live life. Leave it alone. Go have fun. Go to the beach. Walk your dog. Chase up. Go have fun, because you're going to need to be able to refuel, to be able to come back to it, right? So we're right in the middle of living life, and we have to live life, because that's what gives us. It gives us ideas. It gives us the passion, and without doubt, it just becomes blah. So when I find myself getting just tired and just about the numbers and the numbers or whatever, I step away from it. I go do something else. And then I have more energy to come back and look at it with fresh eyes. So I think someone left a comment. Let me go back. Thank you, Angela. Let me look out. I don't know what the time is. Okay. So we have about 6 minutes. Okay. Oh, no, you don't have to. I'm a big believer, whatever you want to write, go for it, right? Go for it. Even if, it doesn't come out, you learn. I believe that you learn from every experience, right? You learn. People have asked me, are you going to write a memoir? I've thought about it. I'm like, I'm going to wait until anyone who can really be offended are dead before I write it, because then so I'll probably have to leave till I'm 80 something, so that way nobody can get me. But I have a title for it already. I already have a title for it, right? So I'm a big believer in having vision boards and just putting things out there, because they make them concrete, right? So you can have you can write a memoir, you can write fiction, you can write poetry, you can write whatever makes your soul happy. Whatever, you try it, right? And sometimes you're amazed that you're going on a journey, and then you have a diversion and you fall into this other journey, and that's where you're meant to be. So I don't think that isn't, and I have to say all this, and people always ask, oh, do you have an MFA or have a writing? I don't have a writing background. All my background is in political science and social work. That's it. I don't have any writing background. So I'm pretty much a self-taught writer. I believe in self-development and in, taking opportunities to build yourself up. So I seize on opportunities to do that. I read books, I, craft books. So as you're doing all this, keep improving, right? That's it, because if you're going to sell anything, you have to sell good work, right? You owe it to your writers, you owe it to yourself to give them the best of yourself. So yeah, so any questions before people have to go off? Okay, thank you, Rosanna. Yeah, so you can ask direct questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
I have a question.
I'm always up for friends.
Do you have a, because you said you read lots of craft books, do you have one that you would recommend to people?
I know the first one people told me was on writing, but it wasn't really a craft book.
It's not, it's mostly a memoir.
I know, because I was, oh, you should read on writing. I'm like,
yeah.
I like Goal Motivation Conflict.
What is it called, sir?
It's called Goal Motivation Conflict. It's an old book.
Goal Motivation Conflict.
I have to, yeah. I found, because I read the like the digital copy, and I just found a used one. My brain, I can't say who wrote it right now. But I will Goal, Goal.
Goal.
Yeah, Goal.
Yeah,
Goal Motivation Conflict. I'm going to try, maybe later we can find the author, but because that's really what a story. At the end of the day, you have to have a good story to tell, right? And so your characters, that's the key thing. What are their goals? What is motivating them? What is trying to stop them from their goal, right? So that's what's going to keep people flipping the pages, like, what is stopping this character from achieving their goal? So that book, it's not, what's the other one? I just bought, it has to do with a cat.
Oh, Save the Cat.
Yes. Yes.
I haven't read that one. I've heard it's good.
Yes. Yes. So I bought that, and then because I want to start writing, I want to write a children's middle grade book. So I just bought online, reading different blogs, and I came across, it's actually on the other side, it's on near my stool. So research, and that's one thing I like about Canada Writes, that you can, ask other people, right? Who, what are the kind of books, and then I go and I research and I ask, yeah, Save the Cat, that's it. I really like that book. I really, really like it. A friend of mine, I recommended it. So I really, really like it. So yeah, so that's a very good book as well.